Right. So this is what Grasshopper looks like. It has a pretty much a canvas, and you have these. Let me actually put that on the full screen first. And you have this bar at the top which shows various kind of options, and then these are our basic, toolkits, which under which lie all of these weird looking icons. And if I just do a drop down, I can see more icons. So this is just a preview of all the icons. So these are like clustered together in a particular components, as we call them in Grasshopper language. And then they are clustered into, let's say, parameters. If I hover my mouse, I can read the description as well. So all of the components to do with mathematics are contains here. It says the tab contains 9 panels and 110 components. So there are 9 panels within this. If I select this, I can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And in totality, these are like components. Now every component has a task. So yeah, all of these components have these components. If I drop down, and I can see the parameters, mathematics, sets, vectors, curves, surfaces, meshes, intersect, transform, display, and rest is all kind of extra additional components that I have. Most of them are for testing. Most of them are useless. I would never recommend you to pile up your Grasshopper like this, how I have done. I'm highly disorganized in this aspect. But yeah, if you look at these are pretty much sufficient to do a lot of things, which one can do here. If I click on parameter, click on geometry, I can see all of these components. And the good part about Grasshopper is that everything has a very interesting description and an icon. So for example, I can see that the icon pretty much suggests what each of this thing does. Right, and there's a description that comes the moment I put a mouse over any of this. So I think that way Grasshopper is very easy to learn and pick as well, because we can always read and spend some time to understand what each command does. And yeah, how it works, it is more like a system or a script, I would say. So for example, let me start with a simple command of going to vectors and or point. And there's a command called construct point. I'm just going to start with that and explain what this does. The moment I select any of the command, I get this icon over here to place something on the canvas. Wherever I click, I get this icon. And let's say this is my icon or a system. How it works is, let me annotate. So this thing has a particular function or a task to perform. In this case, if I take my mouse over this, it says construct a point from XYZ coordinates. And this, what you see on the left hand side, let me annotate again. So the icon suggests what it does. On the left hand side, what you see, so you have a left and a right, and everything goes from left to right in a code, in a visual coding language. Anybody who's familiar with coding, you would know that everything goes from the computer reads information from left to right, top to bottom. It is pretty much the same rule followed here. And this command makes a point. So this is like an algorithm in itself, which is a set of instructions. On the left hand side, you have the inputs. And on the right hand side, you have all the outputs. In this case, I have 3 inputs and I have 1 output. So these 3 you can see are the inputs, and this is your output. So basically, it's saying you give it a value of X coordinate, Y coordinate, and Z coordinate, and it will output a value of a point. Not the value, it will actually make a geometry, which is a point. So that's pretty much how a system works. Inputs, outputs, and these are the nodes. And then this is the information of the input. If I want to understand the information, I can always take my mouse over this, and it kind of reads an instruction. If I take my mouse over the input, it says X coordinate, that's the input, and it says 1 locally defined value, and the value is 0. So right now this has a default value of 0. And if I look at the y coordinate, it also has a default value of 0, and so as the z coordinate. And I'm just going to get another component. You may not have that. I typically use that for teaching. It's called bifocals. It allows you to name all of these commands, so it becomes easier for you to recognize. Now, right now in my Grasshopper, I have all the names visible.
Right click, get one curve. That's my curve. And second curve, right click, set one curve. This is my other curve. In Grasshopper, there's a command called tween curve. There's also a plugin called Pufferfish. If you use that, you will get more of tween options, which I sometimes often use. The normal tween curve would ask for a curve A, curve B, and the factor. Now, if you read the description of the factor, it says tween factor 0.0 means curve A, 1.0 means curve B. By default, it has a value of 0.5. So basically, if you keep from 0.0 to 1.0, it will form the particular part of that. 0.5 would be the mid curve in this case. If I put this on A, this as B, right now by default, I'm getting the 0.5. I can also use a slider to make it go from this to this. So basically I can morph any geometry to another geometry. Even if, let's say I use let's say a circle. Maybe use that as my curve. And I can see my geometry going and becoming a circle. Now the only problem is because I don't have same control points, it might just break down a little bit. It may not be that smooth, but you would still get this geometry being made into a circle. Now, if I want more number of options, I can add more of these. So basically, what I want here is multiple numbers to be able to have multiple geometries. So instead of this, I can use a range, and in which my domain would be, it can be 0 to 1 by default. So basically it goes from the first one to the last one, and the steps can be whatever number I want. Let's say 25. And if I put all of this as my factors. So you basically get 25 new geometries, including the first and the last one, because we're using from 0 to 1. So 0 would create the first one, 1 would create the last one, and the intermediate numbers will create the middle ones. I'm able to create these kind of sections or forms. And now let's say I want to do something to these. Let's say rotate these or twist these or scale these. Now I can just start to play them around, play the data with using anything. For example, if I want to rotate them, for example, now use to as my planes. So if I hide the original ones, so what's happening here is I'm able to rotate everything by a certain angle. Now, if I want this to be a variable angle, I can use a series or a range, depending on what I want to use. Let's say if I pick up a range and then control that it goes from 0 to 180. And the number of steps should be the same as the number of tweens that I have, the number of surfaces I have. So how do I measure that? How do I count?
-1.
Oh, but
List item.
yeah, so I will need a list item.
List length.
And do -1. So this is 36 here. I have a 35 number here already because I'm using the steps here to create the tweens. So I can simply use these steps, and I don't even have to do an x minus 1 because I'm using one less step. And I use all of that as my angles. So what you see here is all the geometries are variably turning by a particular angle, which I can control here. So I can pretty much do a twist into 180 degree of this entire geometry. So I've used two geometries, I've tweened them, and then I've converted that into a surface, and I'm rotating them to create an interesting form. And of course, it is all dependent on the points as well, which I can change. So the overall form would start to change and affect accordingly. If I already rotate this slightly, it will tween differently.
Curve here. So I have all of these points projected on the curve. If I do a line segment, just to see from centroid to the closest point, this is what I get. It will be a perpendicular onto the curve. And rest everything is very much the same. It gives me the point, it gives me the distance, which is all what I need. And in this case, I can remap these distance. These are my values. I'm going to get bounds, use that as my source domain. And my target would be, again, I would go 0 to 1. And now I can use a scale where my geometries are my cells, my center points are my centroids, and the factors are the mapped values. And now you can see everything is attracting as per the curve. If I change the curve, the effect changes. Even if I move the curve in the z-axis, that will still have the same impact. It just needs to find the Euclidean distance. If I do a line segment, so irrespective of where the curve lies, sorry. And what if, let's say, I want to extrude them based on the curve? So I can use, let's say, an extrude command now. And, or let's say, first let me extrude. So I would use a unit z value as my direction. But in the factors, I can use again my remapped values. So I'm remapping again now the distances. These are my bounds. And then my domain can be, let's say, 50 to 500. Because now I will be using these numbers for giving it a height, extrusion height. So I'm using a larger number, not 0 to 1. And these are my mapped values. And I will extrude these geometries. So here you can see that everything is extruded as per the distance from that particular curve. And this point, that's point B. Now you can't see the vector because it's a hypothetical entity. It's not a geometry. So I'm going to use a vector display and display at my starting point. That's my vector. So now you can see all of them as vectors, right? So now let's say you want to extrude to this particular point. I will need to use a move command. So my geometry is my center point. And I will move that along the vector. So everything is moved at the end of the vector, as you can see. Yeah. Now, if I want to but everything is moved as per the respective size of the vector. If I don't want this to be, I want this to be half the size, I can simply use an amplitude. I have the length of all of these vectors. Sorry. I can simply multiply that by, let's say, 0.5. So all my length of the vectors are getting multiplied by 0.5 or divided by 2. And let's say if I use this as my amplitude, let me display this vector. Now can you see it's half the size of its respective distance, and I can control that here, right? So now if I want to extrude that to a particular point, let's say extrude to a point. So my base is these triangles, and my point is the new move point. Sorry, I have to use this vector. So now you can see everything is moving towards its respective vector. So it looks like a force going towards that particular line. So mathematically, you can do magic with numbers till the time you have a clear understanding of how to use the data, basically. Right. So I can just affect this geometry.
Vector 2 point command.
These points to this one. So basically what I'm doing is, if I visualize, I'm measuring this distance. So whichever points lie wherever in the facade, for example. Right now I'm using a point. This can be any information, this can be any data. It can sometimes even be the solar angle or a solar path and all sorts of information that one can take. And then now I need the distance of this, which I have. I can remap this simply. These are my values, my bounds, and my target domain. I can construct a domain from little more than 0, little less than 1, and there we go. And this goes in front. So as you can see now, I'm continuously making space in the script. I'm organizing it in a manner and adding more effects, and that is the way you need to build on a script, so it's more legible, understand and play around with. As you can see here, everything is getting scaled as per the distance. This not very perceivable. Let me make this larger, make this lesser maybe. So it's all based on the distance from these 2 points.